I remember laying on my rack, and the deputy said, "You're going to be on the next Thursday bus to prison." All I could think of was the judge telling me the jury has found you guilty of robbery, conspiracy to commit a crime, and assault. I hereby sentence you to 2 years. I look at my public defender, better known as a public pretender, because they never actually help you out. He's just sitting there working on his next case instead of mine as usual. The look on my friends' and family's faces was shock and fear. At that moment, I couldn't even look at them no more. I put my head down, feeling embarrassed and ashamed of letting everyone down. The feeling of being an outsider, emptiness, loneliness, and feeling like a loser came all over me. My public defender said, "Look at it this way. You were looking at 9.5 years. Consider 2 as a blessing. Plus, you're young, you could walk it off." I told him, "Get out of my face. I shouldn't be doing no time at all." My police description was a Hispanic male, 5'2", 180 pounds. I'm not Hispanic, sure not 5'2", and I can't remember the last time I was 180 pounds. I drifted off to sleep, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, a deputy's voice came over the intercom and said, "Kennison, pack up, you're going early." As I'm getting my waist and my wrist chained up to 2 other people, an older guy I knew told me, "Don't trip, youngster. You're 1 step closer to home. Your journey is almost over." I said to myself, he's right. No more going to court and wondering when I'm going home. Now I just had to get this time over with. Looking around before I got on the bus, I see a look of nervousness on a lot of young men's faces. But we're all trying to mask it with that "I don't care" attitude. But on the inside, we're all feeling the same. The key is to never show your feelings of being scared. You could do that on the inside, but don't show it on the out. I knew I'd be all right because I knew how to conduct myself. I learned all this in the county jail and growing up on the streets. You don't steal from others. If you gamble or borrow something, pay your debts. Keep it 100 and stay true. Don't be something you're not. And always to remain humble. As I look around, I see a lot of people sleeping. That's something I wasn't going to do at all. Being chained up is something I could never get used to. It gave me a feeling of a slave from the 1800s, being chained up and transported like cattle. Shaking my head, looking out the window, I'm looking at people driving by, going along with their everyday lives. I see one man mad at the fact that he was sitting in traffic. I envied him right now. I would do anything to be that person who hates waking up at 4:30 to go to a job they hate. I was thinking that this person doesn't know how fast his freedom could be snatched. At this point, I couldn't do nothing about it. It was basically a dream. I was nervous as we approached the prison, but you wouldn't have known it looking at me. My heart was beating faster and faster by the minute. When I see the prison, I begin to sweat a little bit. On the bus, that's the air conditioning was set damn near below zero. Well, that's what it at least felt like. As we get inside, all I see is a sea of fences, electric fences with barbed wire and barbed wire between them. I didn't know what to feel at this moment. I was numb. When we pull up in the receiving and release center, correction officers come out like a pack of wolves. One of them say, "I don't care where you're from. We're the biggest gang here. You see there are no cameras here. If you want to give us problems, we'll take care of the situation." Before walking in R&R, we were stripped searched one by one. I could never get used standing next to a man naked. It was dehumanizing to me. I think of images of naked black bodies of men, women, and children being expected before being sold on an auction block. As I'm sitting in the holding tank for hours with 25 to 30 men, I was there since 8 in the morning until 6 in the evening. I was only fed once during this whole time, and my stomach had a growl louder than a lion. When 6 o'clock came by, we finally got to walk to our housing unit. We were walking outside to get there. The sun was still up and the sky was very blue, with few clouds in sight. I soaked in the sun because I haven't felt it for months. I said to myself, they could take away everything else, but they couldn't take away the sun and the sky. After that moment, after that moment of happiness, a sudden rush of loneliness came over me. I know my family and friends were hurting that I was gone and I couldn't be there for them. I hope they thought of me as much as I thought about them. The scariest feeling of being locked up is being forgotten about and not cared for by anybody. Before I walk in the dorm, a CO's come out and says, "Welcome to your new home. Don't give me no crap and I won't give you none. When you walk to your racks, if you don't find a mattress, go find one. And if you can't, tough luck. Ask tomorrow's shift for a mattress because I can't do nothing for you." When he said that, I made it my goal to go find one. I wasn't sleeping on metal. I've seen people go without a mattress for days. As I walk in the building, there was about 200-some people. Out of that, 60 to 70 were black. I see a look of anger and despair on everybody's faces. Mad at the fact we're stuck here until we pay our so-called debt to society. When we're released, we have to give another 3 years of being on parole. Looking from left to right, I see whites helping whites and Hispanics doing the same with their own people. With African Americans, it's the total opposite. Everybody would ask you where you're from before they ask your name. People wouldn't even help me carry my bags. They would say, "There go your homies over there, they could help you out." I was disgusted. I was tired of how we treated each other. At some point, we went from having togetherness and solidarity to dividing up, looking at one another as an enemy or a threat before as a friend. After a few days of getting settled in, I noticed how inhumane it was. We had to share a shower with 5 other people and use it when your people of your own race was in there. It was very racially divided. The next day, we had a moment of solidarity. Everyone refused to get off their racks, to eat, to go to school, and even work. It felt good we were standing up for ourselves because we weren't being treated fairly. Next thing I know, an army of COs came in and forced us to strip down and sit on cold metal tables. The captain came in and said, "We run the show here." But in actuality, prisoners ran the prison. Guards just worked there. After his speech, he called all the shot callers for the different races to resolve the problem. They went through everyone's property and threw it all in one big pile, looking like a mountain. We protested we couldn't exercise because they didn't want anybody working out. They would cheat us out of our yard and keep us locked in the dorm. We were being malnourished. The whole month and a half I was at reception, I lost 28 pounds doing absolutely nothing. The only thing that changed was they gave us a little bit more yard. They did that because it would ease some of the tension. The next day out for yard, the alarm went off. When that happens, it means to get down. I didn't want to lay on the dirt, so I tried to run to the concrete, but it was too late. I was the last one down. A CO named Baker came up to me and tried to take my ID. He rushed me like a hawk on its prey. "Hey, give me your ID, fat ass. You one dumb bastard. We could have shot your ass, boy." He was an old white officer that everyone told me to avoid. And when he called me boy, it felt as if we were in the South in the 1960s. Looking in his eyes, I seen a fire that could burn down the forest. It was the same fire reflected in the eyes of white lynched males across the South. I could have gave it to him and swallowed my pride, or I could stand up for myself. I chose to stand up for myself. I said, "Come on, Baker, there's no reason for you to talk to me like that. Won't you come at me with some respect? I ain't no boy. I'm a grown man, and them slavery days is over. Come correct and I'll give you my ID. You really a dumb bastard, boy. I'm not asking you for your ID, I'm demanding it." At this point, I was fuming. So I threw it on the ground and told him to pick it up if you want it. Next thing I know, I was slammed on the ground so fast, his backup seemed as they appeared out of thin air. I now knew what they said when they were the biggest gang. They escorted me to a cage that was smaller than a telephone booth. It felt like an exhibit at the circus or an animal at the zoo. I was stripped down and left in there until the evening. I now couldn't buy food. I was forced to eat unnutritious artificial meals prepared by the prison. It was a cold day, but I wasn't going to let them break my mind or my soul. While being at Wasco, I continued to have similar altercations with COs. I was deemed as a problem. In their eyes, I didn't have no rights. I was classified faster than anyone and got sent to California Correctional Center in Susanville, California. The next day I left, it was early, way before sunrise. But what I remember most was they had us wearing jumpsuits made out of paper, a paper shirt and paper boxers. All I could think about was the state was cheap as hell. It was raining, so we had to walk in the rain before we got on the bus. So you could only imagine what happened to our jumpsuits then. Why do they let stuff like this go on? But I now know it's because people don't know and won't know about it for the most part. It took about 7 hours to get to Susanville. The crazy thing is, this prison is right across the street from another prison. When I saw that, I noticed that the state is designed for a certain demographic of people to be incarcerated. After being in Susanville for a while, I got a job. I was working as an electrical engineer, but they had me in the boiler room most of the time. Being in the boiler room, it was hazardous to my health, breathing in fumes and chemicals. I got paid 13 cents an hour. If you refuse to work, you'll get more time added to your sentence. Forced labor, that's the definition of modern day slavery. I remember one day the guards were unlocking the doors for yard. I had 2 months left until I go home. I didn't want to go outside, but my homie came by and asked me to come outside. Once I walked outside, I had a feeling in my stomach something was gonna happen. I felt it in the air. After 10 minutes of being out there, a riot pops off. All the Crips from Long Beach, Compton, and Watts rushed the Sacramento Bloods. It happened at a blink of an eye. I was literally 20 yards away on the baseball bleachers watching. I see people getting stomped out and faces getting kicked. I see people taking out prison knives ready to poke anybody. The alarm is going off. COs yelling everyone down, shooting tear gas and mace. The guards from the watchtower take out their mini 14s ready to start shooting, but by then everyone was down. We were out there laid out and handcuffed on the yard for hours in the hot sun on a summer day. I yelled at the CO I recognized named Ola. He was a vet, so this wasn't new to him. I could feel my ligaments and my muscles in my arm tightening and burning up. I was yelling, "You know this isn't right. There's people with medical conditions. Someone could die out here." He then said, "Shut up, I don't care. Keep talking, watch what's gonna happen." I kept talking as I was escorted to the gym to be examined by doctors. They escorted 400 people this day, so you could only imagine how long it took. I was lucky it wasn't later in the day after 3 o'clock, after shift change, because we would have been handcuffed to the next day. Once I got my turn to be examined, I was happy. I thought to myself, I'm going back to my dorm, but I was wrong. While getting checked, CO Ola came by and said, "He has marks consisting of being involved. Take him to the hole." I yelled, "You know these marks are from the handcuffs and me leaning my back on the fence." He then says, "I don't care. Take it up with committee. But for the meantime, you're going to administrative segregation, better known as the hole." The hole is basically a prison in a prison. All I got there was more time. That 2 months I had left turned into 3 more months to that. I was in the hole for almost 4.5 months. I thought that was a long time, but there were people who've been there for years. My life in the hole was the same thing every day. 24 hours in your cell, come out the yard for 3 hours a week, and three showers a week, but for the most time we got 2. I hated being dirty, so I bathed every day. I bird bathed every day. My cell was hot, so my body was dripping sweat. The air conditioner wasn't working. You can heat your lunch meat on the walls, it's so hot. The only thing that kept me sane was lots of books, anyone I could get my hands on, and a little television view I had for my cell. I would watch what the COs were watching during the day and night. As my stomach was growling from being so hungry, I realized I was wrong. They could take away the sun in the sky. For me and 1,000 others, all I was left with were 4 walls and a light that was on for 18 hours a day as my son. I had a flashback when a man told me, "Don't waste your life coming back and forth to this place. It's a place of misery, hopelessness, anguish, and anger. This isn't for me."
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Christopher Kennison.